Welcome to the Compassion Show, where leadership isn't soft, it's soul deep. I'm Nigel Patrick, founder of Compassion in Business. I'm a cancer survivor and now a workplace activist on a mission to end the era of toxic leadership and toxic cultures. So every week I sit down with courageous guests who have walked through fire, burnout, betrayal, breakdown, came back not just wiser, but more compassionate. So if you've ever felt like the way we lead is broken, you're not alone. So this isn't just a podcast, it's a rebellion. And today's guest is about to take us inside their own turning point. So let's get going. This subject is fantastic. And I'm absolutely blessed to have Hannah Kok with me, who is going to talk about the world of forgiveness. Yes, we're going to talk about forgiveness. And we're going to talk about forgiveness and how it relates to our health and our well-being. Both Hannah and I are kindred spirits because we are both students of A Course in Miracles. So this is extra special for me. So this is going to be great. So Hannah, I won't get in the way of you telling us your brief story before we get into the questions. Welcome and thank you for joining. Just what's your story?
Well, let me start thanking you for the opportunity to be here and share my story. And I want to thank the audience for taking time to listen to the podcast because it's your valuable time. I really appreciate it. My story with forgiveness started in 1996 when I lost my husband in an armed robbery. We don't know if it was murder planned like that to look as armed robbery or armed robbery. It doesn't really matter. I lost him. I had a young son at the time, and now I had to find a way to move forward. Now, I was really lucky in a way that I somehow was prepared for this. Through the Course in Miracles and other training that I had, I knew about the importance of forgiveness and how holding grudges is all about poisoning ourselves while trying to kill somebody else. So in that way, I was prepared. I also could see in our situation, we were stuck and we didn't know how to move forward. With him passing, I was now free to move forward because we were talking about how can we make a life instead of making a living. We wanted to start some sort of spiritual retreat center. I was living in the mountains in Lesotho at the time, which is a little kingdom in the middle of South Africa. We had no phone, no radio. Well, we had radio, but we didn't have TV or anything. We just couldn't see how we could do that, and that's why we were so stuck. When he passed, it was like, okay, now I can do what we both wanted to do. I was already trained as a kinesiologist, and that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to now do this as my life instead of running a trading station where we sold everything from napkins to coffins and what you need in between. And I discovered I was very fortunate that I could do the forgiveness and I could see around me the people that struggled with the forgiveness, how this whole incident affected them. You know, it affected their health and their mental health.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. I'm quite taken aback how ready you were for that moment and how quickly you were able to move on from that. I mean, that takes a lot of preparation to be ready for that. Thank you for sharing that with us. In your world today, I think I'm going to open up a bit because I had to go through this whole level of forgiveness to understand the link between that and self-compassion. People don't understand there's a link between those two things. But before I get to that point, can we talk about this link between forgiveness and our health? Why is it so important that we figure this out?
When we cannot forgive, we basically have emotions like bitterness, resentment. And these emotions are like neuropeptides that float through the bloodstream. And then they sit on the cell membrane and they trigger responses within the cells. And they will be stress responses. So the cell goes into a stress response, which will then shorten the lifespan of your cells. On a cellular level, what happens? On an energy level, what also happens is in a normal situation, we have, say, 10 units of energy per day. Normally, we will use 4 units for running our daily life. Your work, your play, your relationships, you name it. And 6 of those units is for maintaining and running the body, the immune system, repair, restore, all of that. And when we have a grudge, if we refuse to forgive, have you noticed how that then mills in your head? It goes round and round, and it takes a lot of energy, mental energy, and even physical energy. And now, instead of having the 4 units for work and play, all that work energy goes to work because we cannot think straight and we're a lot less effective. So the work becomes harder, it's more stressful, which adds to the stress. And then we don't have 6 units to repair, restore, rejuvenate the body. We maybe have only 3 or 4 units available. Now, can you imagine? It's like a building. If half of your staff to fix the building isn't there, and even if all the building, if you don't have the energy to do it, you don't have the staff, the work is not going to happen. And that is when our health starts to decline. And then you can take all the vitamins, you can eat all the right foods. But if you do not have the physical and mental energy to do that repair, restore, rejuvenate, you definitely are
Because
going
you
to
just
get
said
sick
there's a
in the
science
long run.
behind forgiveness, a molecular science behind this word that we've all just thought it's something we should do in the Bible or in our own specific faith, wherever it might be, or we've been brought up to by our parents and our grandparents. But what you've just nailed is saying there's a science, molecular and neuroscience behind it, which is quite incredible. Let's delve into that. The listener might be quite gobsmacked by that. I'm with you. I completely understand it. I'm at a lot more peace today than I ever have been in my entire life. I wish I knew this 30 years ago, but hey, that's where we're at. So self-forgiveness and self-compassion. I'm not sure if you know, but I've written this book called The 10 Traits of a Compassionate Leader, and it's based on the teachings from A Course in Miracles. My mission is to take that into the world of business to say, hey, there's a better way of doing this. There's a better way that we can just take off all the hats we wear and just be human. But in the intersection between the 10 traits, there's a 5th trait, which is called self-compassion. I say this is the single most important trait because it's a trait that moves us away from being taking care of our inner self and actually moving out towards the service to others. And we can't serve others unless we're serving ourselves. And the kind of thing I talk about is, listen, there's so many business leaders who I know who are kind, can give compassion, can receive compassion, but they're just in turmoil internally. And therefore, they're truly not able to be compassionate because they're not taking care of their self-compassion. To me, that's at the service level. The root cause of it is something much deeper. So maybe you can go into this link between self-forgiveness first, that will lead on to your ability to have self-compassion. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it all starts with our belief system. And the problem is that 99.99% of the world's population, somewhere in their life, have picked up the belief there's something wrong with them. They are not valuable. And now, your whole life, you try to prove to yourself that that is not true. So like today I was working with a client. She is in an environment where nobody supports her. The people around her are not doing the work. But when we go back and do the inner work, we discover she doesn't have the belief that she's worthy of support, worthy to be taken into consideration. And then the world that you experience will reflect that back to you. So now you will experience that people are just not taking you into account. When we want to change the things we experience, it is essential that we change those beliefs, that we accept we had the beliefs, and then how you use to change the beliefs, that doesn't matter, but that we come to a point that we realize I'm worthy. And I'm now saying to myself, yeah, we tend to say our worth is dependent on what we achieve, our external achievements, accomplishments, etc. But then our worth goes out the window when we have nothing to show for. And that's when I've decided, you know what, I'm worthy just because. No reason, just because I've decided this is the only thing I have. This is all I have. I better value it. How else is my life going to be of value to others? How else am I going to enjoy my life if I cannot make the decision to just value me? I'm worthy just because, I'm valuable because, and happy. I can choose to be happy because I want to be happy. Now, how does then the self-compassion comes in there? Then there comes a point that you say, okay, I actually forgive myself for buying into the belief that I'm unworthy and for holding on to that belief for so long. And that is where forgiveness and self-compassion for me come together.
Yeah.
You say, it is what it is, and it's okay.
I hear a lot this phrase called I've got imposter syndrome. I struggle with this phrase because I don't know what it is. Well, I flippantly say I don't know what it is because I do know what it is. Why do people say they can be happy when they're carrying this burden around of saying I've got imposter syndrome? And that goes back to your point of saying all the same. There's the infrastructure for you to around you to make you feel like that. What is going on? And it's when I worked with someone recently, and to your point this morning with your client, describe imposter syndrome to me. What happens when you think you're in this moment? It's the self-doubt, the self-criticism, the self-judgment is just a voice you're listening to. It's not reflecting who you are. And if you could change that voice or that thought system, would you then say you had imposter syndrome? Exactly no, because I'm just worthy, because I am just who I am. Then they go, I'm good enough. And therefore, actually,
And I'm enough.
I can just be happy. I just got joy, natural joy. And it took me 5 years or 6 years in my world of business where I had this kind of opposite to imposter syndrome, maybe imposter syndrome a little bit, where I felt I was greater than I actually was, not less. So the result was the same, but I had a different end of the spectrum. I led toxic workforce, and I did it because I wanted to have this superiority over me. Then I hit a wall, a really bad emotional wall. I started to read into Buddhism, and then eventually, of course, miracles came into my life, and that's when things really began to change. But without that, I would have had this baggage with me for so long. Even today, I would still have it. So we carry this hurt, we carry this burden, we carry this negativity. What is the real cost here? What is the hidden role of this emotional baggage? What does it do to us if we carry it forward? And how do we get rid of it?
Well, I always say, what is my favorite piece of furniture? It's the mirror. Okay, and why I say that is not the physical mirror, but I look at life as everything that I experience is a reflection of my internal world. So, for example, if I am surrounded by people, I'm going to take a step back. What I'll say, and maybe if we can take you as an example, you don't have to answer the questions out loud, but you can definitely answer the questions in your head. Before I introduce this idea, because people don't always like to accept this idea, I'll say, firstly, what would you like to happen to the most difficult people in your life? Would you like them to disappear gracefully from your life without you having to shoot them? Would you like them to change? Would you like them to stop bothering you, or that you really become effective in dealing with those difficult people? everybody says, yes, please, I want to learn. Okay. Then where would you like to be in a few years' time? You might have specific goals, how you want to feel, you might want to have a family. It doesn't matter how vague or specific the goal is, it still works. So have you got something you would like to
Me?
achieve
Yeah,
within a certain
I
time
do.
frame?
Let's do it. I'll answer the best I
Yeah.
can. I said I'll be vulnerable, so let's do it. My ambition is I
Okay.
want to take this world of compassionate leadership. I want to make it mainstream, and I want to be recognized as far and wide as I can. I call it my rebellion. My army of people who want to make a difference in the world, of which you are one. I want to be a voice for that. I don't necessarily want to be delivering it. I just want to be the voice for it to help people recognize it, because it helps me release my baggage. I was a terrible, toxic leader. I've worn the shoes of many people in the world of business today, and I found a different pathway out of it, and I can demonstrate that. And I want to just share that with the world as best I can.
So you want to get your message out there. That's the most important thing. So that
Yeah.
compassionate leadership becomes mainstream. So the next question is, what type of people do you admire? It's about what qualities do they have, or name one of the qualities they have that you admire in other people. What do you
10
see
years
in
ago,
them?
I would have said it would have been taking no prisoners in business. Today, my word is they demonstrate real kindness.
They demonstrate real kindness. If you have an honest look at yourself, how kind are you
Honest to
now?
10, I'm at a 6 because I have to work at it every single day.
Okay. And
I'm
how
getting
kind
much
are you
better.
towards
This
yourself?
time, 10 years ago, I was at a 1, and now I would say I'm at a 7.
So the fact that you see that kindness in other people and you admire it is an indication that you want to develop it more towards yourself and others. Now, as you develop that kindness more, how is that going to assist you in getting your message out about compassionate leadership?
It's the real motivator for me. I take the message. If you don't mind, I'll just go back to A Course in Miracles about something. The real message I've been reading a lot about recently is I can't see the kindness in myself unless I see it in other people first. I can't see my brother as a brother until I see you. Then I'll recognize it in myself. That is really important to me. And I've been speaking internally a lot to myself and saying, what is joy? What does that really mean? If I was able to describe that, and joy to me would be seeing other people who were in my situation change. That is real joy. When I see the joy in others, that's when I get the joy. That has been a big shift in my life around, going back to your point about forgiveness and self-compassion. I think that was critical for me. So kindness, that's where I see kindness in my motivation to get the message across.
Okay. So the next question is, do you have any person in your life that still
Me.
pushes a button?
I push my I push my own buttons all the time.
You.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Do I have
You
any
push your
people
own
buttons?
buttons.
I think less and less. Yeah. I don't think.
Of course it will be. Maybe
Well,
even a
yeah.
political figure.
There's a couple of Trump pushes my button all the time. Anybody who, I watched this program last week about American Apparel, and that pushed my button because it was just, just looking at this toxic environment. And I saw myself in that, so that's why I pushed my own button. Yeah, anyone who's doing a disservice pushes my button. It's not an individual; it's kind of an action by people that does it.
No. So when they give a
They're not.
disservice, what does that mean for
Yeah,
you?
so disservice is where they're not
Just
just. They're,
to
again, it's going back to the word kindness. They're not being kind to people or themselves.
right. So they're just not serving other people. Is that what you
Yes,
mean?
that's
They're
a very good way
focusing
to put it.
only
Yeah,
on
yeah.
growing themselves. Okay. Then the question is, there's two ways of looking at it. You could give them advice or pretend you're never going to speak to them about it. Even if the person would be close in your life, you do not have to speak about it with them. But pretend you can give them advice on how to shift from being too much focused on themselves and not serving others.
You
What
know
would
that
you
guilt you're about to
advise them?
feel? I used to feel that all the time, and I hit a brick wall. And now I will probably be honest and say, I think I am now sitting with incurable cancer as a result of doing that kind of stuff for most of my life. Even though I've got incurable cancer now, I feel great, I'm happy, I'm at peace. So if you're doing disservice, you may not think you're going to feel guilt, but you are about to feel a very heavy burden of guilt. Try and just change your thought process around it.
I really want to talk to you about the cancer
Wonderful.
off air because I think I can assist you with it, just in case you're interested. So you're saying, careful for the guilt you feel, rather start being of service so you don't have to feel the guilt. Are there areas in your
Yes.
life where you still feel guilt? That you could find a
Yes.
way to let go
And I
of?
had to write a book to get rid of some of that guilt. I had to, when I wrote this book, I apologized to everyone who I was mean to, or I potentially felt I was bullying them, or I made them work hours they didn't need to work, or I was emailing at 3 o'clock in the morning religiously. So I had to write a book about it.
Right. So if you would forgive yourself and also ask, as they teach in the Course of Miracles, ask the divine, the Holy Spirit, to remove the guilt and the subconscious guilt. How is that going to assist you with
I can tell you from personal experience,
reaching your goals?
releasing that guilt, it makes me feel so much lighter. I tell you from personal experience, I've been through it, and I sleep better. I am lighter on my feet. I'm lighter in my spirit. I'm a lot more patient because I had no patience before. I'm a lot more open-minded. I think all these characteristics that I wish I could have been, I now am, because I know that guilt isn't worthy of having, so I don't have it in my life.
Exactly. Now, can you see when you release that guilt, it's going to aid you to reach
Yeah.
your
Oh,
goals, to
100%.
be
100%.
right? So this irritating person has just shown you your next step. To say, Nigel, it's really important for you to get hold of identifying where you feel guilt and release it. Forgive yourself for it. Forgive yourself for whatever caused the guilt. Are taking that way your next step towards becoming that compassionate
Powerful, isn't
leader
it?
and getting the word out.
It's so powerful what you just
Say that again.
said. This is why I think you can really help a lot of people who struggle with this. The world of business, there's no such thing as a world of business and not a world of business. We are humans and we go to work. The world of work, there's so much anger. Gallup have just said there's 1 in 4 people in the global workplace are suffering from anger or sadness every day. And when I was growing up through my young management career, we never measured anger or sadness. We measured stress, if we even bothered to measure it. I mean, it wasn't something that we did. But now we've got this new world we've got a new workforce, very younger, who are quite emotionally intelligent, who is saying, you know what, I'm angry and I'm sad every day. Every day. And when I put my business hat on, I am looking at the financial impact of that around the world. This sadness and anger, this inability to understand forgiveness and the link to our health is costing the global economy almost $8 trillion in lost productivity a year.
I
There's a
can
science
believe
behind
it.
forgiveness. There's a molecular science behind it. There's a neuroscience behind it. There's also a financial science behind it, which is this loss of productivity. So how do we help businesses? What kind of practical tools, what kind of simple practical tools are there? How people can kind of regain their own position through forgiveness? Well, what do you advise?
Well, first of all, you can now see that irritating person has brought you gold. So how easy is it now to forgive that
Very.
person? Do you still hold a grudge, or is it easy because what's to forgive, really?
When you see it a
Just
gift,
gave me a gift.
it's beautiful in actual fact.
Right. And all we have to do is look at the person, forgive them for being the perfect mirror, thanking them for giving the gift, and then forgiving yourself for needing them to be the mirror, and forgive yourself for needing this gift. That was just one of those blind spots that we have. How we can change the anger and the sadness in the workforce and the health is when we start taking responsibility for our own happiness and stop outsourcing it. Because what we've seen, I'm angry because of what you are doing. I'm sad because of what you didn't do or the opportunity I didn't get. When we teach them the emotional maturity to look at themselves, how that other person is their mirror, they can get gold from them. You never have to be stuck again, because every irritating person will hold the key for you on what you can do next internally. And that is something you have complete control over. Yes, you might need help from a coach like me, but that you're not dependent on anybody. It's for you to change.
Obviously with kindred spirits, in having a coach, I can see many CEOs, many senior leaders, where this really fits. It's in the boardroom. And I've been in boardrooms, and people who haven't hit the boardroom yet have a different image of what the boardroom's really like. And in my experience, it is one thing, it's a political game. We're not talking about the culture of the company. It's all about the politics around the table. And we, as in that kind of senior level position, we would never look at the other person as an opportunity to get gold. This example that you're talking about, if we can fix that, we fix an entire culture of that company, entire culture. Because one of the things I often say to senior leaders, I talk about trust a lot, I talk about honesty, and I say honesty is about consistency, all that kind of stuff. I say, as a leadership team, go and fail for the next month. And when you fail big and shout about how much you're failing, but how much you're accepting the fact that you're failing. Allow people to see you being vulnerable, because that will change your culture pretty quick, because people will stop lying about the mistakes they're making. And because you haven't built an architecture to support them to make those mistakes and be psychologically safe in it. Now you layer this thing about forgiveness in the boardroom. I think there's something really quite incredible about what you're providing to your clients. I'd love to hear a bit more, if you can, if you're able to share some examples about how you're helping other people. But I think forgiveness in the boardroom is quite a dramatic thing. I'll talk to your friend about how we can work together. I think that would change culture pretty damn quick. Any stories you could share with us, do you think?
My stories, especially with the clients, I work a lot on the health side. At the moment, I especially work with women with hormonal imbalances, and I can even give you a bit of science behind that, why that is linked. But I know out of my own experience, raising your children, that's another area. We get irritated with our teenagers. I remember once one of my children was doing something really, I don't even want to mention on air what he was doing. I hated it. And then I went to analyze, what do I see in him that is in me? And I realized he's just trying to manipulate the situation. I remember going afterwards to him. I said, look, I understand what you're doing, and I know I have the same tendency. And I really would like you to stop this behavior because it brings back very bad memories for me. Now, I'm not talking down onto him. I'm talking equal because I know I'm doing a similar thing. He stopped immediately. He respected my request. Before, force him, punish him to get him to stop, wouldn't stop. But when I approached him, he stopped immediately. I have had people that in business, this was like an attorney. He was dealing with the master of court. When people have died, you have to file for, what do you call it? When people, you have to, for the winding up of the estate. And in South Africa, the master of courts and a lot of structures are just not functioning properly anymore. She was super frustrated. We did this mirror work with her. She could see now how she was not she was not respecting herself because that was what she was experiencing from the master of the High Court, that there was no respect for her. We implemented the self-respect. The very next day, she had her documents. And she'd been waiting for them for 6 weeks. And I have many stories like that. Bullying in the workplace, even sexual abuse in the workplace, stops like that. When we change ourselves, because remember, we're just looking in the mirror. They're just treating us the way we treat ourselves. How can we expect anybody if we put our needs last every time? How can we expect people to talk to us with respect if we call ourselves stupid and an idiot?
Yeah. And something.
And that's how you can change the culture in your
Something
work
so
environment
powerfully
and home
beautiful.
environment.
You know what we do? Carry on.
It's so simple that we need a master to complicate it
It's
enough
so easy.
that we're willing to
We're going to
accept
make it difficult. Otherwise, we can't exist. I completely agree. Hannah, listen, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I've got one last question before I go. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to spend more time with you and talking with you. And you mentioned I will take this cancer conversation offline with you, and also the hormones, because I'm getting hormone injections, so I know what that's like. So we can definitely have a conversation about that. But what I've taken away from this conversation, this episode, is this absolute power of forgiveness towards self-compassion. It's the starting foundation block for anyone to think about self-compassion. It doesn't take very much. Self-forgiveness is an internal conversation mostly, so we can do it, but it takes practice, no question, and it may need some work from a coach. A coach is always good, because even though the end result is so powerful, understanding it is a difficult thing. I'm trying to get people to understand the difference between empathy and compassion, because everyone thinks it's the same thing, and it's not. Two fundamental differences. So thank you for sharing all the insights. I'd love to get you back on the podcast soon so we can talk about it as we develop. The last question I have for you, though, is we have this new workforce that's coming in. Everyone's called it the Gen Z generation coming in, who, in my world, the way I look at it is that, I love it because they're so more emotionally intelligent. Their emotional intelligence is up here, but emotional resilience is down here. This is a real problem. What I see businesses trying to do is saying, actually, what we'll do, we'll just lower this, the emotional intelligence, and just try and creep up the resilience a bit, and we'll get into this balance. And I'm saying, oh my God, all you do is kicking this can of disaster down the road. You've got to build this emotional resilience right up to meet the emotional intelligence and allow it to grow and grow, give it the space that it deserves. So what would you say as advice to anyone who's coming into the workforce now, who's struggling or who just needs to understand the power of forgiveness? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would tell them to look in the mirror. For the people that judge others to have no emotional resilience, maybe it's showing them that they need to develop their own emotional resilience. For the Gen Zers, if they feel, what is it that they feel from the other people? Maybe they are too harsh or whatever it is that they see in the leadership. They need to look in the mirror and say, okay, they are too harsh. Well, maybe I'm actually very harsh on myself. How can I be more kind to myself? Because when you develop that kindness, the resilience will go up by itself, because now you're not worried if you make a mistake, and if somebody looks at you the wrong way, doesn't matter, because you're okay just because. Yes, you do your best, but it's okay to make mistakes because you're still valuable. And I have a really wonderful gift for your audience that can assist with this. I have a wonderful meditation that people can download called Release and Relax, that can release the tension from their body. We go through the whole body and release the tension. There's some forgiveness in there, letting go of guilt. And that meditation can just be a real pick-me-upper. And when you need a boost, you can just put it on, listen to it. And that is something they can get. If they go to my name,
I'm going to put all your details
they'll
in
get
the
access
notes
to that.
anyway. But that is, I'm going to download that because I love meditating. It's a thing that I do, my self-reflection, my self-chat in the morning and last thing at night. I ask for what I need to do for the day. Who should I talk to? How should I talk to them? And I say thank you at the end of the day. Meditation to me is quite powerful. But listen, what a wonderful gift you're giving everybody. So I'm grateful to that. And thank you. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for being an extraordinary guest, talking about probably the most single important subject that we have in our life today, forgiveness.
Thank you so much for inviting me, because so many people are scared of forgiveness and they don't realize what a gift it is. It's a gift for yourself, and they don't realize it. They talk differently. One thing I want people to know is when we forgive people, you never have to tell them anything. You don't have to ask for forgiveness. You don't have to go and talk to them. It's a private affair. You do not have to let those people back into your life. You can still have them living on the other side of the world, or not let them visit your home, because we don't have to forget. Those are some of the myths that people have about forgiveness, that I have to forgive and forget, let it happen again. No, you learn from it. But then when you learn and you change your reflection automatically changes and your life changes as well.